So Matt, Chris, my first question, you've probably answered it a few times before, but how are you both out of 10?
I would go in, since I've been coming to Talk Club, always come in at about an 8 and then improve after speaking to everybody else in their situation. Don't know what you think about it.
Very, very similar, Matt, to be honest with you. I normally come in as a 7, and when the guys have had a good chat, I feel better than when I walked in, which really, that's the object of the lesson, really, isn't it? Mm-hmm. To feel better as you will go out and utilise what's been said. And that's the way I feel Talk Club is. You get ideas, if you like, and information for you. Oh, that's a good idea, and make you feel a bit of a boost.
Yeah, I think that's right, and I think that you can compare your situation to where you would be if you'd not been coming, and the score that I'm giving now wouldn't be an 8. It'd be, a lot lower than that, because you don't focus on stuff if you don't come.
That's true as well.
So, Chris, I'll start with you first. What made you first attend Talk Club?
Well, for me personally, I was fed up of getting knocked down and have to bounce back up again. Like I said to myself a few times, how many more times do I want to get bounced in job-wise and one thing and another? How many more times do I want to get? One day I'll not be able to bounce back up again. And I knew then I had to do something about it. Otherwise, I would stay down and go further down. Then I got to know about Talk Club. Came to the Talk Club at Sheffield Wednesday to wait for first, and since then I've never looked back. For me personally, it's not always bed of roses every single day of the week. It's not. Let's not kid ourselves on that one. But it's nice to have that background, that friendship, and it's a phone call away from everybody that attends your meeting on a regular basis. If you want to chat with somebody, have a cup of tea with them. It's that nice friend group that you think you've always got someone you can go to. Where previously, apart from my dear lady wife and a family who can't keep going back to them all the time.
It's isolation, isn't it?
Yes, it's the isolation as well. So I don't know about Matt feels on that one, but
yeah, I mean, pretty much.
What drove you or inspired you to come?
Well, pretty much sort of similar situation, only that and in fact, I was saying to Chris on the way down in the car today, it's a year since I first started coming. And I know that when I first came, and I know that from what we've already previously talked about, you're probably going to ask me where I was a year ago, but when I first came, I found it really hard, because the biggest step is walking through the door.
Definitely.
And if you don't make that choice, you're not going to improve. And like I said to these guys nearly every week, for me, coming down here on a Wednesday is like what I would have done on a Saturday night. I look forward to it. I look forward to the environment, the community, the friendship, hearing what everybody else has got going off. And, we just keep in touch, and it's such a great community that's been set up.
And if I can add to that as well, Matt, it's nice to see some success stories as well of people that have come in. Some of them have, I'm not going to name any names, of course, but are situations. But the situation they've been in, for one reason or another, has been so down that they basically probably couldn't go any further down. And that's how really, and he came here, and I've seen the I'm sure everybody else has, but I've seen no improvement in 2 or 3 people that attend every week now. And they say that I really look forward to coming every week. I feel guilty, if you like, for not coming.
Yeah, massively. I think,
kind of thing. So it has that positive effect on everybody. Sorry, Matt, some people might take a wee bit longer for it to materialise and see where you're going. That's not being clever or anything like that. That's
no, not at all. Not at all.
What they're made of and what their issues might be.
I mean, the major driver factor for me, sourcing everything, is I went through a really bad time at work at the end of January last year, and I realised something needed to change. So it was a case of finding support groups, what could be done, how can I change things, how can I make an improvement to my life. And yeah, so ending up here is where I'd never stray from it, because it's like a gym for your head.
Good description. Because I never heard about Talk Club. I briefly touched another one. I won't name names. That's be wrong. I won't be very professional to do that. But and I kind of looked into it, and half-heartedly, if the truth be known, on other Talk Club. But this one just appealed to me when I read the information. I thought, that sounds something that I'm looking for. So making that, as Matt just said a minute ago, making that first break of walking through the door, that is the hardest thing you'll do in Talk Club. It really is. The hardest thing is walking through that door.
Even though there's nothing to fear.
No, not at all. But we're walking into a room with strange.
It's just your head. It's just you and your preconception of walking into an environment where, oh, I'm not comfortable because this is not what I normally do. But you know, when you get into it and you sort of like 3-4 weeks down the line, everybody's your friend. It's such a welcoming community.
Yep, I agree.
So Matt, I'll start with you first this time. Do you actually remember your first check-in score? And how do you reckon that sort of compares to now?
I remember mine going when we were down at Hillsborough, and I walked in. It's a bit of a strange question to be asked on the first night because you don't really know the routine and the format. Obviously, when you go a few weeks, you get the gist, if you like. I think I went in at about a 4 because for various reasons, financial and personal, mental, you know, I didn't perhaps realise how bad I was. And it helped as well. I think I was about a 4 when I walked in, and it was difficult to be greeted by 3 or 4 people, 4 or 5 people at the time who you didn't know. You did not know anything about them. I recognised Mike, by the way, Mr. Mike, because I remember him being on Look North, and I thought, I remember him from somewhere. That's true. I thought, where do I know him from? And it took a while to realise it when I'd seen him before. So that was a bit of a type of moment. But yeah, that was a 4. I can't say any more than that.
I would say I was probably similar. I was about a 4 or a 5 because I think the first time that I went, there was probably, about 6 of us, maybe, down at Hillsborough Leisure Centre. And one of the key reasons for that was I think there's still such a massive stigma around the fact that men seeking help around the mental health is something that you don't talk about, and so you walk in with a negative opinion until you get to know everybody, and then once you get to know everybody, it doesn't really matter what you talk about. You talk about anything, but that's what men don't do.
Yeah,
and that's why we need to have more of it.
And I think kind of added on to that, and this is no disrespect to this area of the UK, like South Yorkshire in the area, but traditionally, Sheffield was a steel industry, or still is. A man in a steel, and miners up in Barnsley, again, another male-orientated environment for the work. So you didn't go to your mate and say, "Oh, I've got this," like Mike just said, "Oh, man up," or worse to that effect. You didn't do it. So therefore, if you got that problem, it got worse because you weren't sharing it with somebody. Here, Talk Club, better way to put it, the invention of Talk Club, if you like, you can share your issues, you can share your problems. And people often ask how you are about a certain issue you've had to deal with. Oh, you get about this, and that's great to know that the people are bothered that something's happening and you're moving forward. I think that's brilliant. I really do.
I mean, just on the back of that, completely different. But I would add that since I've been coming here, it's made me more open in conversations with anybody, not just. I think sometimes, I mean, I've suffered with poor mental health issues over the past sort of 10, 15 years and been on antidepressants and things like that. But they're just the sort of like the placebo effect, really. You can take the tablets, but if you don't do anything else to support it, they're not going to work. And I think sometimes you think, right, you do a 6-week course and it's a quick fix. Right, I don't need to go anymore. And then you just end up going backwards and backwards and backwards. But if you keep continuing to come here or just make sure that you're open and talk to people, then it's a continuation of a good path rather than a bad one. It's about knowing that you've always got that connection with anybody. They might not get back to you immediately, but you're no longer feeling as low as you were. Do you know what I mean? You know that you can share thoughts, comments, whatever, purely and simply because we're all in contact with each other. Yeah. And then coming and touching base here on a Wednesday night, it's just like the icing on the cake. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it's definitely the isolation that's not good because you don't know where to go to speak to. And if you try and speak to someone in a pub, they don't want to know. So this group's totally opposite for me. It's a fantastic. That's what I think.
So this one's, again, just to both of you. You can sort of pick who answers first. If you hadn't actually found Talk Club, do you have any idea maybe what score you'd actually be checking in at now?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Sorry, Matt.
I'd be about the same as what I said earlier.
I think I'd be a bit lower because, like I just said before, I was fed up of getting knocked down and bouncing myself back up again, knocked down, And then I actually thought, so how many more times am I going to get knocked down over something and not be able to get up? And I didn't want to be in that situation. So I'd probably be less than 4 when I first went into Hillsborough. I'm not quite sure how far behind, far down past 4 I'd be, but I was definitely going in the wrong direction, and I knew that. And I don't make light of anything or make a joke of anything, but in my case, the light at the end of the tunnel had been turned off, and that's how I felt. And I wanted it to turn back on again, so you have an aim, something to look for, to go to. I think, right, I can get to that candle now, or the light, and something to motivate you to get to that.
That's a good point. So I was just about to say, I think sometimes when you get into an excessively low mood, sometimes you haven't even got the motivation to get out of bed. Do you know? There's no point. There's no point. But I think one of the things that one of my friends said to me before I started coming here, and she suffered with PTSD. She was in a really bad car accident and stuff like that. But she said, what you've got to think about is not what you're not doing, but have you done a little bit? So to start off with, it might be that you should be, and it's about your phraseology as well, how you talk about yourself. So if you put pressure on yourself by saying, I should do this, you need to change the way that you think about it. Because if you're saying I should, it means that you're thinking, I've got to, and I've let myself down if I've not achieved it. Whereas if you turn around and say, do you know what, I could do this, but if I don't do it all, I've still achieved something. And it's just having that different mindset. And mindfulness for me, mindfulness apps and things like that have been a real big help, because you're living in the moment and thinking about what you are doing and appreciating what you are doing, rather than thinking, nah, I've not done that, I've not done that, I've not done that. Then all of a sudden you've got a list as long as you want, and you think everything's spiralling out of control. I think sometimes before you're in an environment where you can sit and talk about stuff, it's all, like going back to what you were saying about isolation, you feel on your own and therefore there's no route out. But when you listen to other people who've got the same struggles and you're making them feel a bit better and you're taking a little bit from what everybody says, you can transport that into your everyday life.
I totally agree. I agree with what you're saying as well. The 2 hours, I didn't look at it that way before. But yes, the 106 hours, there's no clue. It's self-help then, isn't it? Or not self-motivation. Get yourself off and go and do something. Push yourself a bit. You have to push yourself too hard to start improving in your mindset. Just don't become isolated and sit in the house watching daytime telly all day, that kind of thing. Because that's not the way to do it, is it, really?
Yeah.
It really isn't the way to do it. I know it's the easier way. As humans, we often prefer to choose the easier way, but that's human nature. Rather than go the hard way, I'll go the easy way. It's not always the best way, though, is it?
So if there was someone out there sort of watching this video, and they were thinking about coming to Talk Club, what is it you would say to them? What would your message be to that person? I
would say to anybody out there who's in that situation, come and have a look. Simple as that. Walk through the door, sit down, have a chat with us, cup of tea, and if basically it's not for you, it's not for you. It's not for everybody, let's be fair. But if it's for you, come down, and we're here to help. Have a listen. There's no preconceptions. There's no opinions passed or anything like that.
No judgment.
There's no judgment. It's just we're here to have a friendly chat amongst people, if you like, who have an understanding for the situation that people are under, rather than going to an environment where people haven't got a clue sometimes and they don't know what they're talking about. And you don't feel any better for that, obviously. But here, there's a lot of experience going on, and a lot of people with different experiences in different walks of life as well, which is a big thing for me. We've all had different jobs, or doing different jobs down there, or put into the pot, if you like, what we've had. So I'd say to anybody, come and give it a try. The hardest bit is opening that door and walking in. You'll be made to feel very welcome, and hopefully you'll become every week and improve. That's the main thing.
I think for me personally, I think everybody's got different stresses and struggles. Somebody might be struggling financially, somebody might be struggling with the stuff that they can't leave at work, they therefore take it home, and then you're no longer doing a 37.5-hour job a week, it becomes a 60-hour job a week because you're looking at your phone all the time, or you're looking at this all the time. But if you don't take an opportunity to speak to somebody about making a change, then you're never going to know the benefit of it.
And that exactly what happened to me. Taking not too much on, but I didn't want to fail. And then if you want enough time in the working day, bring it home, which is wrong. You shouldn't be working at home.
Yeah, exactly.
Not about working at home that people do now as part of COVID and whatever. That's a different work at home. That's your normal job, but in a different area. And I was coming home with work and doing it in the evening, on a Saturday and a Sunday. And like Matt rightly says, I was doing about 40, 50, 60 hour week. And I won't say I want any gratitude for it. It's not because I just class it as part of my job. And maybe that was wrong as well. A wrong view. It's not part of your job to work 60 odd hours a week if you're only getting paid 40, sort of thing. But I didn't want to fail. That's what it was at work. I didn't want to be behind people and, being not laughed at, but pointing, oh, look at him. I won't say words, but I think you can fill them in, type thing. So that's what part of the battle is. And having to commute as well didn't actually help. That was my fault. That was my choice. But doing your best with what you've got is not always easy to achieve. When you've got the pressures, in my case, I worked in retail for quite a long time, and the pressures in retail are immense because it's got to go out the door. The stock has to go out the door, otherwise there's no sales. And that's a savage of it. It has to go. Come hell or high water, no matter what you do, no matter how long it takes, it has to go out that door on the vehicle. That's a lot. It puts you under a lot of pressure, believe me.
I think another key thing as well is there's some people, going back to sort of like the isolation thing that we talked about.
Yeah.
There's some people who don't have a social network.
True.
So you're then in an isolated situation. So it's work, home, and that's what predominantly, from my experience, sends people over the edge. They think they're doing the right thing, earning money, taking it home with them sometimes, not taking it home with them, however it works, but they don't have a community to sit down with and just like get it off the chest.
Yeah.
They don't do it. Do you know what I mean? And I think social media might have a little bit to play with that in relation to the fact that some people just hide behind sending text messages. But if you just get out in the real world
Not the truth.
and sit down and just talk to people who are like-minded, who understand the situation you're in, because we all bring different experiences to the party, so to speak. So that's what I would say as well. If you don't try it, you don't know if it's going to be a benefit.
For me personally, I was always quite a confident person before an incident happened. On the actual day COVID was announced in 2000, an incident happened, it pushed me over the edge, basically. My wife thought that I was having a nervous breakdown. But previous to that, I was always quite a confident person. I did a long time in the armed forces. That gives you a different type of confidence, but it's a good one to have as well to bring out the armed forces, which was always the happy, not happy-go-lucky, but always happy, cheery, that kind of thing. And it knocked my confidence for 6. Self-esteem, all them sort of thing, all that Maslow talks about in the hierarchy of need. I didn't have one, basically, and that wasn't me. And I knew it wasn't me. And even my wife said at that time, I could see the change in you, and it wasn't what you used to be. So I was really in the dumps, shall we say. Then I rose and came up to down in the dumps, so it's pretty good, bit of a progression there, sort of thing. Without trying to make too much of light of it, but I could see I was getting not better, but more accepted what was happening, but doing something about it as well to stop that leak, if you like, of the badness, if that's the right word, if you want to call it a badness. Stop that leak if you can, and then hopefully build yourself up.
I think for me as well, going back to the sort of situation that I was in, anxiety played a big part in my life. So having the confidence to do certain things, and 2 examples that I can give you about how it's changed me over the last 12 months is I wouldn't be able to do this 5-6 months ago. I've seen a progression in myself through the last sort of 12 months, but if you'd have asked me to do this, irrespective of what I'd said or how I looked like I was during the meeting, I wouldn't have been able to do this because I wouldn't have had the confidence to do it. It had made me anxious. Do you know what? Even just coming down and stuff like that. And then went and did a charity collection on Saturday, which again I wouldn't have been able to do because that was sort of, I suppose, a massive interaction, talking to people and getting them to donate money and collecting it and stuff like that. So yeah, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So to go from where I was 12 months ago where I even got to the point where getting out of the house was starting to become a little bit of a problem unless I could go for a walk where I wouldn't bump into anybody, to now where I can come down here and then interact with people on a regular basis. It's an 100% change. I'm not 100% where I want to be, but I'm 100% better than I was last year.
And if I could just add one bit to the end of my little story, if you like, my wife has noticed a big improvement in the time I've been coming here. And I'm not going to name names to anybody in the talk, because I know somebody else that's mentioned that to me a few times as well. So that to me means something's happening for the right reason. Not all my efforts, it's a good joint effort, if you like. Yes, I'm helping myself, but everyone's helping me to help myself, if you see what I mean. So that's good.
Yeah, no.
And that's the way to look at it. So you can't help yourself all the time, but all the experiences and everybody will help and give you a bit, like we said before, different experiences of all this walks of
Pulling it all
life.
together, isn't it?
And then you think, oh yeah, I've picked up things here and I thought, I like that, I'll use that, and to help me move on.
And finally, gents, what is it that you look forward to the most when you come to Talk Club?
I personally look forward to
Not him.
the camaraderie, the laugh. We've got like an essence of humour about the place as well at times, but it's a serious humour, if that makes sense. And that's a bit of a contradiction, but that's the best way to describe it. Not making light of anybody's situation or laughing at people. We're not doing that. We take the seriousness of people who are coming in through the door, because it is a serious business, if one way to put it. But we get that little bit of, and I feel myself, if you get that little bit of lightness in there, you get more of a response out of somebody, and that'll help them even more, because they're happy to open up a bit more and get a bit more information from experiences, and give them an idea or a bit of a shove in the right direction, to put it brutally, that they might need. You think, great, so we have that kind of atmosphere. And but the only little bit of a downside for me, I have to bring him in the car.
There's always going to be a bite back, isn't there? I just, like I've said, just sort of like capping everything off, I look forward to coming because it's my social network. I'm not bothered about anything else. I look forward to coming to see this. I look forward to the banter that we have, because we have a sort of like a group chat, etc. And it's just a stellar place to be involved with, and just get on with everybody.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said earlier, to see the progress that some people have come after me, because yourself, like you've just touched on about the fact that you don't always see yourself improving, but then when you see somebody who's come in just before Christmas and we're giving scores of like 3 or 4, and then all of a sudden now they've gone up to 7 or an 8, and they're saying the same thing that we're saying now, it's a massive difference. And that's why I'll always keep coming, because it's a benefit to me.
Exactly. Totally agree.